When it comes to biomedia, there's a whole bunch of different options that are available to you out on the market, including Marine Pure. And that is what this video is going to be about today. Hi there, I'm Hilary for Waterlogged, on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. Over the past few years when I've gone to trade shows, I had the pleasure of meeting Paul and some of the team at Marine Pure, and I thought, why as well do a video talking a little bit about their products, how to use them, and what makes them so great. So let's get started. Now, before I get into talking about Marine Pure specifically, I wanted to touch on biomedia in general. What is it? Well, biomedia is a type of product that is used for biological filtration. Now, when you think about aquariums, we use three main types of filtration in our aquariums. The first one is mechanical filtration. That's things like your filter socks or your roller mats. They are what are going to remove a lot of the larger particles that are in our water before it gets filtered back into the tank. Now, the next type of filtration that we use in our tanks is chemical filtration. Say you have a cloudy tank or you need to remove a medication from the tank, you might end up running carbon. Well, that's an example of chemical filtration on your tank. The third type of filtration that we use in our tanks is biological filtration. That's things like copepods, any vegetation that helps to filter the water. And that is where Marine Pure comes in. Now, when it comes to Marine Pure, they have a bunch of different sizes, from your small nano tanks all the way up to ponds. But we're going to stick with the products that they have for aquariums just for this video. So the smallest size that they have is a product that's called their gems. The next size up is going to be their spheres, and then their pods, and the largest, which you may have actually seen before, is one of the bricks. If you take a look at any of these products, it looks pretty solid, right? How's it going to do any sort of filtering? Well, take a look at this. If you take water and pour it directly on top of this, you can see that water is coming through the center and out the bottom of this product. Now, the reason for that is because Marine Pure is made up of thousands of pores. All of these pores are fairly large, though they might look small to us. If you combine them all together, it means that there's a huge surface area in these products. So why is that important? Well, a large surface area is a large amount of space that can provide homes for biological filtration. Enter bacteria. Marine Pure can provide surfaces for both the nitrifying bacteria and the denitrifying bacteria. But what does that really mean beyond me just saying it? Well, if you think about when we first are starting up our tanks, we probably are thinking about and maybe even talking a lot about the nitrifying bacteria. Once we get our tanks up and cycled, well, it kind of goes out, but those bacteria are still there. They're still breaking down waste and making the water safe for the fish. This is a little bit how that looks. So when we feed our fish, we give them food. The fish produces waste in the form of ammonia. The ammonia will be broken down into nitrite by one type of nitrifying bacteria, and then a second type of nitrifying bacteria will break that nitrite down into nitrate. And it's easy to not think about it past that as long as it's doing its job. But what about if you could take it a step further? Well, that's where denitrifying bacteria come in. Because they can survive in these extreme environments, these denitrifying bacteria will actually take that nitrate and break it down even further into its most basic components. It's pretty cool, huh? Well, you don't often see these sort of habitats for the denitrifying bacteria. In the past, you used to see them in tanks that have really deep substrates, or in sumps that have really large sand beds. But I feel like now the trend has gone to minimalistic tanks with very shallow sand beds. So wouldn't it be nice if you could add something to your tank to help bring back in those denitrifying bacteria? One of the reasons that you want them is because if you're having the help of the denitrifiers in your tank, you're going to have better water quality, which means you'll have to do water changes less frequently, and your tank is going to be healthier. Who doesn't want that? So now that we know a little bit about the benefits of it, let's talk about how to use these products, where to place them, and what sizes that you need. How do you know how much Marine Pure to use? Well, it kind of depends on the type of product that you're using and what size tank you have. So larger tanks like this one behind me, it's 115 gallons total volume. It might use something like one of the bricks, but if you have a smaller all-in-one, you may want something even smaller, like maybe the gems or the spheres. If your goal is to boost the population of nitrifying bacteria, you are going to want either 1 block or 1 gallon's worth of the smaller ones for 500 gallons of total water in your system. If you are aiming for denitrification, then 1 block or 1 gallon will be good for 150 gallons of total tank water. Now that you know how much of it you need, how do you know which size to get? Well, if you've got a larger system like this one right here behind me, it's 115 total gallons, I would use one of the bricks. Now, if the brick is too big to fit into any of your components, you can actually cut them down fairly easily to make it fit in a specific spot. But if you have a smaller tank, then you may want to consider one of the smaller products. So the first one, this guy here, is the pod. It fits basically in the palm of my hand, and that is the size under the brick. Now, the next one is the sphere. It's a little bit smaller, maybe has the diameter of a silver dollar. And lastly, the smallest one, this is the gem. This is pretty small. This one would be really good in some of those smaller nano tanks and even one of the all-in-one tanks. Once you have picked out the appropriate size for your system, you next want to consider where to place it within your system. So the first thing you need to consider is it has to be placed after the mechanical filtration. So we talked about that at the beginning of the video. So if you've got a filter sock or a roller mat, you want to place your Marine Pure after that in your system. If you've got an all-in-one, usually it's that second chamber that's in there, or a canister filter. It can go in one of those other levels. So, one, it needs to go after the mechanical filtration. Second thing to consider is the amount of flow. It doesn't need a torrent of water. It just needs low flow, that's all. Something else you should consider when placing these is that they should be placed in an area that doesn't get a lot of vibrations or isn't going to knock into stuff within your sump. So you can see here when I'm holding these, like just a little bit of knocking, it causes some dust to kind of come off. And the same can be said with all of these products. It's not bad. They're made up of tiny, delicate pores. I would expect nothing less. But you don't want these sitting somewhere in your sump where it's constantly going to get beaten up against a wall. It's just not going to hold up. So I would recommend placing these, if you have the smaller ones, in some sort of media bag, or if you have one of the larger blocks that you're going to use. Marine Pure makes a vault. It's like an acrylic box that you can actually put them in to help keep them from getting bumped around. So that'll make them last a whole lot longer. One last thing I wanted to let you know with how to use these is if you notice them start to get grimy and covered up, it's very easy to clean them. Next time you're doing a water change, just set aside a little bucket of the water that you have removed. All you gotta do is take them and swish them back and forth in the water to get them all cleaned up and gently put them back in your tank. Hopefully, now that you know a little bit more about Marine Pure, next time you place an order with SaltwaterAquarium.com, you might consider adding some of the Marine Pure products to your cart to get a little bit of help and a boost in your tank. All right, this is Hilary for Waterlogged on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.